Truth by Rated Star Pony, read by Deathlight. I was surprised she didn't request to see me on her final day. However, I wasn't going to let her go to her grave without hearing what I had building up inside me for the past 6 years. 6 long damn years I watched her breathe in a coma with a burning desire just to take her pillow and snuff the life out of her. To make her pay for everything she put us through. Because of her and her damn crusade, we lost so much, including ourselves. I can never forgive myself for the sins I committed for the name of harmony and friendship. Lies, all lies she told us for her planned perfect little world that would have us live under the bones of an entire species that we tried to eliminate. If old Twilight from when I was her student could see me now, she would deny everything I would tell her. Back then, Celestia was the closest thing to a goddess I believed in. She was perfect in every way. Has she always been this despicable in real life, or just a mask to hide the cruel being that was the real Celestia? Or was she recently turned into a genocidal, human-hating monster locked behind these thick layers of prison walls, guards, force fields, and automatic turrets who were ready to end her life at the moment she tried to do anything funny? To be honest, I hoped to be there when she woke up, to tell her that she was going to be placed under trial for all the crimes she had committed. I would have loved to see her face, but I was invited to join Fluttershy for her son's first communion, despite I didn't believe in any god, pony, or human. I only learned about her awakening after the reception. By the time I got there, rioters were breaking out all over the world, demanding just to kill her and be done with it. To be honest, I would have preferred the same. Yeah, cold-hearted, but you weren't a part of the sick and twisted process that turned humans into ponies while losing themselves. A process I'm still trying to fix. You didn't lead armies of ponies to either force humans to convert to this process or kill themselves. You didn't betray everything you believed in growing up and have to live with that for the rest of your life. If there really is a heaven or hell, I'm not going to the former. I've resigned to that fate, but I'd be damned if I didn't send the former Princess Celestia there first. Still, the UN wanted a public trial. To show the once proud Sun Princess she was nothing more than a criminal cast down due to her own hubris and abandoned by all. Just like the human story of Macbeth, everyone was expecting her to defend whatever reason she had for dragging Equestria into Earth Dimension and converting humans into ponies or letting them die. For letting all the species in her old world die. All of us expected some greater good speech, but we didn't get it. When asked how she pleaded, she said, "Guilty." Nobody expected that. I didn't expect that. She didn't say anything except that one word. Guilty. She never asked for anything else. No last meals, requests, or visitors. She didn't even request me. That's why I'm here. I need to visit her. I need to tell her everything. And I need to ask why. Why do all this? If there's one thing I wanted to ask for, it was the damn truth. What was the real reason for us coming to Earth and force humanity to become a lifeless, simple-minded version of us? Did Princess Celestia really believe in all the conversion propaganda that was around all those years before the war? Or was that just another one of her hidden plans that didn't work out for once? It took hours for me to be granted clearance, and I asked Spike and Fluttershy if they wanted to join me since they're already there for the execution. Fluttershy said she had nothing to say, and Spike whispered that if he saw her, he would burn her and piss on her ashes. A part of me didn't even know if I was going to do that. Although I knew the Thermin generators were working overtime to keep her powers in check. When the final force field was down, I entered the large cell room that held the once great idol who was now nothing more than a mess. Her once flowing, multicolored mane was torn up like it had just been through a minefield, with her bangs covering up her face. Her wings were gone, all plucked of feathers, while her horn was sawed off. Her hooves were cracked and bloody, while her entire coat was covered with dust and grime. Even her once bright cutie mark was now a dim color. I was looking at a goddess who had fallen into a pit of disgrace. Her dull and near lifeless eyes gazed at me from beyond those bangs and stared into my fire-filled ones. "So, you did come," Celestia whispered. "Were you expecting me?" I asked, my tone void of emotion. I wanted to yell at her, but didn't yet. Now wasn't the time. I thought there was a chance you'd come to see me. Even if you didn't, I would have accepted that. It is nice to see you, however, Twilight," said Celestia as kindly as possible, but no smile decorated her lips. "I'm not here for a pleasant conversation and a cup of tea, Celestia. I'm not even here to say goodbye. Frankly, I don't care anymore about you. I'm just here because I have one question left for you." "And what question is that?" I took a deep breath and demanded, "Tell me why. Why did you do all this? What was the real reason?" Celestia was quiet as my question hung in the air. I held my breath as I prepared myself for whatever answer she was going to give me. What I didn't expect was for her to snort and look away without a care. "What does it matter?" I blinked. Yes, it matters! "Why? It would change nothing. I'm still going to die, Twilight. I've lost the love and respect of My Little Ponies. I will forever be remembered as a monster," reasoned Celestia with a heavy sigh. "Telling the truth won't change the facts, and it's better for my reason to die with me. I'm fine with whatever the history books will say about me. It's what I deserve anyway." "So, you admit what you did was wrong. Was that before or after your defeat at the hands of the humans?" I growled. "From the very moment we stepped onto this planet," whispered Celestia with a sorrowful look. "Twilight, just go. Leave me to die in peace and live your life with whatever perception you have of me." "Not until I have my answer. You owe me that much, Celestia," I screamed as I got closer to her face. "You were my mentor, my hero. I loved you more than my own mother. Yet I've lost everything following you. I've lost friends, families, and ponies I've known for years. I've lost my ability to have foals. 2 of my friends hate me because I did the right thing by surrendering, and now I have to hunt them down like criminals. My very hooves are stained with the blood of a crush who knows how many innocent lives by either the potion I helped create or my own magic. Not to mention, I played a part in leaving an entire planet of millions, if not billions, to die because I trusted you said they would be okay. If it wasn't for the fact I still had Spike and Fluttershy, I would have killed myself and ended my miserable life by now." When I stopped to take a breath, I was wiping tears that were in my eyes. Through my misty vision, I saw my former mentor was shedding a few of her own. "Please, just tell me. You owe me that much, Princess." I felt her whisper while feeling her nuzzle my cheek. I wanted to push her away, but my outburst had left me so tired I couldn't even resist. "Out of every pony I hurt the worst, Twilight. You have been like a daughter to me, and I had never forgiven myself for all the suffering I brought down upon you. Not even if I had died 100 times would it be enough." She straightened herself and looked at me with such a serious look I hadn't seen since we declared war all those years ago. "If I tell you the real reason, you must promise you will never reveal it to a single soul." "Why?" "Because the world is united in their hatred for me. I am the villain. The one who almost ruined 2 races because of whatever the press can think of. If they knew the truth, it might damage that unity. It might not, but I'd rather not risk it. I'd rather be hated and forever labeled as a demon if it means my ponies can be forgiven for following me," answered Celestia. I didn't know what to make of this, but I guess I owed Celestia this much for all the previous goodwill towards me. That, and we were slowly being forgiven and seen as victims for Celestia's crimes, just like humanity. I worked hard for 6 years to end this hatred, and I was finally seeing progress. I couldn't risk that. "Fine, I promise." Celestia took a deep breath as she closed her eyes, obviously trying to gather her thoughts. I wanted her to hurry up, especially since there was only 4 hours left until she died by firing squad. Even if she didn't have access to magic, her alicorn body was still as tough as they came. Firing her with laser rifles at maximum power was the only solution. It would render her to ash, but it wasn't like anyone was going to be at her funeral. Finally, she spoke. 300 years ago, before Nightmare Moon's return, I sensed something wrong with our son. It was like it was screaming, for lack of a better word. Screaming in pain. She winced as she shook her head. Because of my connection to the sun, I felt the pain and wondered what was wrong. Especially as it continued every day. I researched what I could find, scanned with my magic to find out what was wrong. Until I finally found my answer. She opened her eyes and stared at me. Our son was dying. My eyes widened. Dying? Our son was dying? But that can't be. It would have looked different than it does back home. I've seen dying suns in this dimension and this dimension has a different set of laws and physics than ours, Twilight. Celestia interrupted. In our dimension, the sun always has one color. In this dimension, they have multiple. We have magic, they do not. Or if they did, it was lost long ago. Unlike this dimension, our planet was the center of the system, with the sun and moon equally rotating around us. Celestia shook her head. I tried to delay it at first, Twilight, but over the years since the discovery, it became harder and harder for me to raise the sun. The pain each time was immense. I tried to hide it from my subjects to keep them from worrying. My brain went into overdrive, trying to rationalize this. If the sun, our old one, was really dying, was there anything that could have been done? If our sun were to die, our planet wouldn't be able to survive. Is that why it hurts so much? I whimpered, thinking the time I raised the sun, my efforts to stop Tirek. I thought it was because of my inexperience, but I felt like I was... Dying? Yes, that's why. Answered Princess Celestia. By the time we wielded it that one time, the sun was already 50 years or so from his final breath, as it were. Then we were doomed no matter what? I asked with halted breath. Why? Why didn't you tell any, Pony? If Equestria or even the world knew the sun was going to die, it would cause a panic. Celestia sighed. When I realized what was going on those hundreds of years ago, I knew I had to do something. I researched everything and had the most brilliant minds at the time to help me. At first, we tried to figure out a way to keep the sun alive. We even looked up black magic to help us, but nothing would keep the sun going. After that, I found a solution when I was looking through the notes of Sarswell the Bearded. His theory of cross-dimensional travel. I answered. That's what Princess Celestia gave me to solve, as it were, and I discovered what was possible with the elements of harmony. You figured out how to do it before I did, didn't you? You just played with me! I had to, said Celestia with no regret in her voice. Yes, I discovered it was possible to cross into different dimensions, even look into them. The problem was, we didn't have a method for large transportation. My hope was to teleport all of us, the entire planet, into a different dimension and live in that one. But finding the right dimension was tricky, Twilight. I've seen so many different worlds in the last 300 years. Some of them so beautiful, others so deadly. Some filled with different species and creatures, and some with no life at all. Then why not choose any of those other dimensions? Why this one with the humans? I asked, if there are so many choices, why not just take one and leave it at that? Why invade this one of all things? You really think crossing into different worlds is safe? That there isn't a risk? I sent a soldier each time I thought I found a perfect dimension for us, only to see them unable to survive the physical laws of that universe, or die from a danger we couldn't even face. There are more dangerous things in the multiverse than humanity, Twilight. Ones that can kill you and I in seconds. She paused and let that ring in my head. I had always thought that humanity was the most dangerous thing I've ever seen. But there were creatures even more dangerous? Well, the scientist in me wanted to ask more about these worlds. I knew I had a limited amount of time. When did you finally find this dimension? 100 years ago, answered Celestia, a disgusted look on her face. I saw a perfect world that was filled with life, and yet the only intelligent species was wasting it. I saw their wars, their hatred, starvation, and greed. I saw them pollute, destroy, and waste their planet and potential. I saw their lifeless machines, and I learned more about their history over time as I continued to watch. How could a species this destructive continue to exist when we barely managed to survive our own near end from the endless winter? How could this species be so much more advanced than us, and yet so savage? If these beings had a god, it must have abandoned them long ago, or it is so irresponsible to let them continue in their ways. So you decided to come in and play God? We had no right. Do you even understand what you've done to them? What we had? Twilight, they're going to wipe themselves out sooner or later. The only reason we of Equestria survived as a species was because of the magic of friendship. These humans didn't have that. They had no hope for their future. Answered Celestia, biting her lip. Even if I'm wrong, isn't it better to end some pointless, endless cycle by ridding them of their humanity and making them into something different? Something better than a cruel human? I've seen cruel ponies before, Celestia. I'm looking at one, right now. I guess that's true. Anyways, I saw this planet, and I sent my princess before you, Sunset Shimmer, to see if it was livable. She said it was. However, I watched as native hunters in the continent of Africa struck her down in a surprise attack, and... A few tears dripped down from her eyes. They feasted on her. I couldn't help hold my hoof to her mouth and look at my mentor with pity. I heard the previous apprentice before me was met with an accident, but to be eaten. How terrible. I whispered. They must have thought her some mystical animal to be eaten by their gods. A part of me wanted to say they killed her out of ignorance, but I couldn't help but feel sorry for the sunset pony. Was all this revenge then? No, but I couldn't deny that part of it was. I was running out of time. This was the only dimension that had enough we could live on. The problem was no magic, and the humans. The first was easy to solve. I realized that the power of the elements, blessed by the tree, could boost the spell to teleport our nation into this world as a new continent. The problem was the humans. I didn't want to go to war with them if I could, but I figured that magic would bring to them in shield form would be unreliable for them to use, since magic was a foreign substance. I didn't want to commit genocide, so I thought, why not try to make them ponies? They'd be happy and free from the human greedy nature. They would live among us and learn magic. They would learn true harmony that their leaders and teachers had failed to give them for nearly thousands of years. And what if they didn't want it? What if they were fine as they were? I'm not saying humans are perfect, but for the last 6 years, I've seen humans help me restore what we've caused in this world. I've even had humans come up and forgive me for my actions. I'm not saying they're all bad, but I couldn't risk it, Twilight. Celestia shouted, standing up with fury in her eyes. If we had come in peace, sooner or later, we would have gone to war. Our own opponents would abandon friendship and harmony for their philosophies, religions, and beliefs. I couldn't have humanity poisoning Equestria. Not when I worked so hard to keep it pure and protected for thousands of years. Celestia lowered her head. I just couldn't, Twilight. So the potion? I asked, thinking about the horrible thing. I admit, I never saw the potion's actual effects until I used it once as a grenade during the war. To see humans transform painfully into a pony and look you as dead and happy eyes is just a nightmare. I didn't know about the effects of the potion until a year after we set up the conversion bureau, answered Celestia with sorrow in her voice. I never wanted to make the new fool sterile, nor did I want the new fools to lose their personalities. It was something I didn't think would happen. I figured we could reverse this when we turned the entire population into new foals, but that will never happen now. She looked at me with a pleading look on her face. Please fix them, Twilight. I do not regret making them ponies. I do regret what I have done to them when they became one of us. I already know your efforts to reverse it. I know you will find a way. I didn't answer her because I was already dedicated to fixing her mistakes. Reversing the potion was one of my many goals before I died. One last thing, you said you were trying to teleport our world into the Earth's dimension. Why didn't you? Why did you leave everybody back home to die? If what Celestia said was true, then those back on our world were dead, no matter what. Without the sun and moon moving, they would have been unable to survive the conditions that had changed. Even if they did find a way, the sun would have died out, and the world would have been taken out with it. Your theory on the elements of harmony helped me find a way to teleport our nation to Earth. Celestia said with a heavy sigh. But it wasn't enough to teleport our world. I had to make a choice, either waste more time and lose our chance to survive, or sacrifice the rest of the world for our people. I had no choice, Twilight. My first and foremost duty was to my ponies, and if that meant sacrificing the rest of our races of our world, then it was my sin to bear. They could have helped us, we could have shared our knowledge. I pointed out, trying not to think of the last moments of a little baby griffin who would have lived only a few weeks upon birth, or a zebra couple holding each other in their final moments. Hell, I even felt sorrow for Queen Chrysalis and her hive. No, they would have gone to war with us for the elements, or the process on how to perform the spell, muttered Celestia. Equestria would have been against the whole world, so I made sure the information never leaked out. I wanted to keep us out of war as long as possible, and yet you put us to war against humanity. And the millions, if not billions of graves on both sides are all your fault. I had no choice, Twilight. I was trying to save them. The shield was growing, and they would have been all wiped out if they didn't convert. I had to go to war to force them to save them. I know my methods were wrong in many ways, but my intentions were good. Did Luna think so? I snapped and finally saw my mentor lean back at the mention of her sister. You kept it from her, didn't you? The real reason we came. I watched her die, trying to save us from the humans in Jerusalem. And we risked bringing her body back here. Did you realize your mistake the moment you held her dead body and cried? Or was it after the Crystal Empire was nuked and left the entire race to decline? I stepped forward, inching closer. Did you realize your mistake when they bombed our shores? Killed my friends and family, sent Camelot into flames? Or was it when you woke up with a million voices screaming for you to die? Silence rang in the prison cell as I took a deep breath. Celestia, you had many good intentions. You may have been trying to save us, but you once told me the right way was always the hardest and most difficult way. But you must follow it because the reward is everlasting. I took a deep look into her eyes. You failed to follow that. Your methods are too extreme. Innocent lives of all kinds have died, and if there's an afterlife, you'll have to answer for that. I slowly turned around. My emotions were spent. I was done. I had my answer. And while I understood and could sympathize with Celestia, I still couldn't agree with her. Maybe if I was in her hooves, I could have, but I didn't. I still couldn't. Even if what she said was true, it still didn't change the fact it was wrong. At least, that's how I seen it as. Maybe others could see it different, but I will never tell anybody or any pony. I'll just say she refused to answer and let her reasons die with her. Twilight? Said Celestia, knowing that this would be her final words to me. You may be right in saying what I did was wrong, but everything I did for my little ponies. I do not regret trying to save them, but I do regret all that has been lost in the process. Goodbye, Celestia, was all I said before I left the room. I walked through all the security points and doors. I ignored the looks and questions from the others as I silently walked past them. I headed into a bathroom and placed an anti-sound spell on the stall I was in. And I cried for hours. I cried so much I missed her execution.